India is downgrading ties with Pakistan a day after gunmen killed 26 people at a tourist destination in Indian-administered Kashmir. Funerals have been held for the victims of the attack. It is the worst attack on civilians there in nearly 2 decades. India will shut a key land border with Pakistan and suspend a crucial river treaty that allows the sharing of water between the countries. And India says it will suspend a number of visas and drastically scale back the country's diplomatic structures.
The defense, military, naval and air advisors in the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi are declared persona non grata. They have a week to leave India. India will be withdrawing its own defense, navy and air advisors from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. These posts in the respective High Commissions are deemed annulled.
Umar Mehraj has more from Pahalgam.
The security forces have released the photographs and sketches of the militants involved in the attack that left 26 tourists dead. As per the sources and the information received, the militants fired continuously for 20 minutes using automatic rifles. The militants involved in the attack are members of the Kashmir Resistance Front, an offshoot of a banned outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba. Police have also detained some 1,500 people across Jammu and Kashmir as part of an investigation.
Let's take a look at a history of the disputed region. In 1948, the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 47 calling for a ceasefire, troop withdrawals and a referendum in Kashmir, but disagreements between India and Pakistan prevented the process from moving forward. In 1950, Kashmir was granted special status under the Indian Constitution, ensuring significant autonomy for the region. In the 1980s, an armed separatist rebellion broke out, fueled by local resentment and demanding independence or merger with Pakistan. A decade of violence led to conflict in 1999, when India and Pakistan went to war over Kashmir once again. In 2019, India revoked the region's special status and imposed a military lockdown and detained its leaders. Elections were recently held in Indian-administered Kashmir and an elected government rules the region. There's also a new lieutenant governor appointed by Delhi, but many there still demand autonomy within the Indian federal structure. Irfan Nooruddin is a professor of Indian politics at Georgetown University. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much for your time. Firstly, just how significant would you say the steps India has taken against Pakistan following this attack are?
They're significant in that they immediately identify Pakistan as the perpetrator of the violence, even though that has, we haven't seen the evidence or proof therein. Obviously, the gunmen were not part of the regular Pakistani militia, so presumably military. So presumably the claim over here is that they were supported and funded by the Pakistan military, which has been an argument advanced by the Indian government for a while. So the most significant thing is that instead of this being focused on a domestic terrorist event of tremendously grievous consequences, has immediately been turned into international dispute between two nuclear countries.
But this is something we often see. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Nooruddin, but this is something we often see when there are attacks in Indian-administered Kashmir, isn't it? The Indian government is very quick to lay the blame on Pakistan. Why do you think we are seeing such a large-scale attack at this time?
It's a good question. There's been, a relative lull in this, and it should be said that while there have been greater casualties by individual incidents previously, this has been the largest civilian loss of life. Militants previously have really attacked military targets. This is the first time that the attack has been clearly aimed at civilian casualties. And reports, at least in the Indian media, are that the militants were targeting non-Muslims in particular, thereby adding to the religious sort of connotations of this terrible event. As to why, one could attribute both sort of the failure of any diplomatic efforts between the two countries to resolve the long-standing dispute in Kashmir. One could also point to the very harsh military lockdown that Kashmir has been under over the last 5 or 6 years, which undoubtedly has radicalized some elements. And one could also maybe point to the growing Hindu-Muslim tensions in the country that have undoubtedly inflamed some radical elements as well. None of this, of course, is to excuse this terrible violence against civilians. But on the other side, the fact is this, as you pointed out, this is a conflict that is 80 plus years in the making. It flares up time to time, and this flare up, unfortunately, while never wanted, was probably not entirely surprising either.
Pakistan is heavily dependent on the water from the Indus River. India has put a hold on the water sharing treaty as a result of the attack. And there are now fears that Pakistan could face water shortages as a result. Pakistani officials are meeting on Thursday to formulate a response. How do you expect them to respond? Are there any chances of de-escalation here?
I think there will be de-escalation. The Indus Water Treaty is one of the truly great examples of cross-border diplomacy. There are obviously humanitarian consequences for innocent Pakistani farmers and citizens from that water shortage that I'm sure India does not want beamed across the world. The question is, what is India's ask? Is this purely punitive to cut off the water, or is it leverage to say, if you do these X number of things, we turn the water back on? In the absence of a clear set of demands on the Indian government, whether Pakistan deems them reasonable or not, it can only be interpreted as being punitive. So the question is, does Pakistan know what it needs to do in order to get India to release the water again? And if that's not clear, then it's very unclear where this ends, other than maybe symbolically allowing it to last for another week or two and then slowly letting the water back in.
And
Let me just be very clear that I think a long-term suspension would be terrible.
And I suppose how it ends, of course, depends on a real investigation into who's responsible. Do we usually find out after such attacks?
The honest answer is not really, right? I mean, there is undoubtedly will be a military and national security establishment investigation. Those are typically fairly opaque. The Indian media and the Pakistani media are not really incentivized to ask hard questions of their own governments or to push for truth. So we don't have the independent fact-checking that would be ideal in two aspiring democracies. And so the government will make claims that a serious attack, which is such a breach of security, probably takes quite a bit of time. But by the time those results finally come out, the public consciousness will already been shaped. I doubt there is a single news channel in India over the last 24 hours that is going to be saying anything other than putting the blame for this at the feet of the Pakistani establishment. So unless the government can do something very quickly to allay those, public mentality will be demanding some sort of, proportionate or even disproportionate response against Pakistan. And one just hopes that the leaders can keep control of their own emotions and keep, not allow this to escalate to a point where we are, talking about military options. I do not see that happening. One just wants to make sure that you don't get there either.
Irfan, Nooruddin, it's been really great to get your expertise on this. We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.